more rain to the north, but generally away from Iraq. But look at this massive blue here, working its way down the Gulf and pushing into southern areas of Iran. At the same time, that could mean thunderstorms and rain showers across into Qatar and certainly on these coastal areas of the UAE. And certainly temperatures a little bit lower than we'd like to see this time of year. Just 24, Peter, in Doha.
Jenny, thanks very much. See you soon. Still to come here on the News Hour for you. An unequal burden, how the new coronavirus pandemic is affecting the lives of millions of women around the world. Closed for business, how COVID-19, how the crisis is affecting workers in Thailand's entertainment business. And in sport, the clay court tennis season is officially over before it began. Farah's here with that story in about 20 minutes.
How much is the coronavirus and the stock market chaos affecting the race to the White House? Will it be Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders who secures the Democratic nomination?
I believe we can beat Donald Trump.
Follow all the developments in the US election campaign on Al Jazeera.
Full of struggles.
Nadie lucha para perder. Y la parranda no solamente para mí, todo lo que estamos aquí, la parranda no es todo.
Full of pleasure.
Mi Cuba es lo más grande que tengo, es la parranda. Sin parranda no hay Cuba.
An intimate look at life in Cuba today.
Nosotros hace años jugábamos con el carne, pero ya este año no, este año hay que prepararse.
My Cuba on Al Jazeera.
We understand the differences and similarities of cultures across the world. So no matter where you call home, we'll bring you the news and current affairs that matter to you.
Welcome back. You're watching Al Jazeera live from Doha. This is the News Hour. My name's Peter Dobby. Your top stories. The Italian Prime Minister says coronavirus restrictions will be extended past the current deadline. That's April the 3rd. On Wednesday, Italy recorded the highest number of deaths in a single day since the outbreak began. Spain's coronavirus death toll has risen by 30% in just a day. 767 deaths have now been reported. The total number of people infected is more than 17,000. A two-week nationwide lockdown is currently in place. There have been no new local coronavirus infections across China for the first time since the outbreak began in December. All new cases are reported to be people returning from overseas. China has now begun easing its lockdown of millions of people. Markets across the world are taking a battering because of the crisis. It's been another volatile day in Asia. Let's get an update from the Wall Street area. Kristen Salumi, working from home, I think, Kristen. That's the new normal. You're watching the figures there as they unpack for us during the trading day. How's it shaping up?
Yep, watching from home, and the markets just opened a few minutes ago, and not too surprisingly are trading lower. It's been an incredibly volatile couple of weeks, and I think we have to expect more of the same. That despite the fact that since the closing of the markets on Wednesday, governments have taken some action to try to stabilize their economies. U.S. President Donald Trump signed a $1 trillion aid package. The European Central Bank has taken steps to purchase securities, 750 billion euro being invested there. That's following on similar moves by the United States Federal Reserve, Central Bank, basically attempting to keep liquidity in the market. So steps are being taken by governments to ease investors' concerns, but there's a lot going on that is affecting business right now. And again, the volatility, we just have to expect it to continue. And one sign this morning of what's to come, jobless claims, new jobless claims are up. In the last week, 280,000 Americans filed for unemployment benefits. That's a lot more than was expected this week. The expectation was 220,000, and many are saying just the tip of the iceberg of what's to come as the fallout from the coronavirus continues. So expect more volatility today, Peter.
And if we skip forward just a little bit, Kristen, to Monday, start of business on Monday, this all goes well, a lot of it will go online. It'll become virtual stocks and shares, virtual trading. I guess you have to go back to 9/11 to be able to talk about or remember such a significant moment for the Dow Jones and for Wall Street.
Right. After the close of business on Wednesday, the New York Stock Exchange announced that it would close the trading floor and all trades would be done electronically. They took that step because 2 people who visited the stock exchange in the past week tested positive for the coronavirus. On Monday, they began testing people, taking their temperatures as they came in the building, and some of those tests came back negative. They've done extensive cleaning and are continuing to trade on the floor this week while they get everything up and running. But starting Monday, all trading will be done electronically. This was done, the market closed after 9/11. That's true. There has been other closures. Hurricane Sandy led to temporary shutdown for technical reasons, but it is very significant and symbolic as well when you don't have those traders on the floor there. But I will say that less than 10% of cash equity trading is actually done on the stock exchange floor. So it's not a huge change, more of a symbolic one, if you will.
Kristen, thanks very much. Well, in the US, conflicting guidance from the Trump administration over the virus outbreak is forcing more state governors and local officials to act on their own in the fight against the pandemic. Rob Reynolds has that story from Los Angeles.
Lines of fear. People in Los Angeles queue up at a discount grocery store, stocking up on supplies to ride out the coronavirus pandemic. It's a sight that has grown common across the U.S. California has been hard hit by the virus, with hundreds of confirmed cases and more than a dozen deaths. Governor Gavin Newsom was among the first state executives to order drastic steps.
We are calling for the home isolation of all seniors in the state of California. We are directing that all bars, nightclubs, wineries, brew pubs, and the like be closed in the state of California.
State officials have ordered residents of at least 10 California counties to shelter in place, remaining at home except for essential errands. That's more than 8 million people, including the cities of San Francisco and Sacramento. In neighboring Nevada, Governor Steve Sisolak ordered a month-long halt to gambling, shutting down the glittering casinos of the Las Vegas Strip. It's a heavy blow to the state's tourism-centered economy, but Sisolak justified the closure, saying people are dying.
This is not the time for casinos to remain open. This is not the time for community recreation centers, clubhouses, movie theaters, and malls to remain open. If your business brings groups of people together, it should not be open.
Public health officials say social distancing is essential to saving lives, but some governors haven't got the message. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt tweeted a picture of himself with his children in a crowded restaurant, writing, "It's packed tonight," with a hashtag #SupportLocal. After intense criticism, Stitt removed the post and declared a state of emergency in Oklahoma. California Governor Newsom acknowledges the people of his state must endure tough times.
We need to meet this moment head on and lean in, not isolate ourselves to this moment, but lean in and own this moment.
With the world's 5th largest economy, California faces staggering economic losses due to the pandemic. But stringent measures taken now may prevent the virus from doing its worst. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Los Angeles.
Well, the coronavirus pandemic is affecting billions worldwide, and women are uniquely affected. Here's why. They are 70% of the workforce in healthcare and social work fields. Many of them are on the front line of the pandemic, and the risk of infection is high. Women are also primary caregivers in most families around the world. School closures and lockdowns mean additional responsibilities and exhaustion. For women who suffer domestic violence, mandatory lockdowns mean being trapped with abusive partners with nowhere to go. Chinese activists are reporting more abuse cases since cities were pushed into lockdown. Women also do nearly 60% of informal jobs, from street cleaning and domestic workers to agricultural and textile employees. Strict quarantine measures in some countries mean no work, therefore no pay. Let's talk now to Mohamed Nasiri. He's the Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific at the United Nations Women's Organization. Mohamed Nasiri, so this is a double whammy. Not only do women make up more than 2/3 of healthcare providers, they're also the cornerstone within the domestic situation.
Correct. As Christian was talking about the economic volatility earlier today, system is made out of around 70% women. These women have been on the front lines, putting themselves out there, a heroic work that has been seen by the world, not only in the healthcare, but also in the transport, in the logistics, in the scientific research for vaccinations, etc. Yet, on average, healthcare workers, women healthcare workers receive around 1/3 less of pay than those of men. And while they have been provided with protective personal equipment like their men colleagues, their specific requirements have not necessarily been attended to systemically across the board, including menstrual hygiene care. We also need to remember that in many of the countries in the region and across the globe have applied the shelter-in-home policy, which means that public transport is not functioning, equally putting women healthcare workers at more risk and more vulnerability, having to walk back and forth to hospitals and clinics at different times of day and night, exposing them to potential violence against them as well.
From the people you're talking to or the organizations you're talking to, are there any big employers or even unions around the world who are aware of this? Because what we're talking about now with the coronavirus may be the new normal. We're using that expression today. We don't know how long this will go on. So you're outlining a systemic problem that exists anyway, which is being made doubly worse because of the coronavirus. So does this come down to employers, in part, to solve this as an issue?
Absolutely. And as you rightly said, it's going to be the context in which we operate for some time to come. And we've been in touch as UN Women with many of our business partners, the private sector and the corporations that we're working with, who have signed on the Women Empowerment Principles. Yesterday, I was on a call with the International Chamber of Commerce, amongst other partners, to look into the economic fragility and the dimension that we need to attend to when it comes to attending to the specific needs of women in this industry, but also at large when it comes to the economic fragility of many women who are working in the informal sector and in small and micro businesses.
OK, we have to leave it there. Mohamed Nasiri, thanks very much for joining us here on Al Jazeera.
Thank you.
Thailand's infamous nightlife is also feeling the effects of the virus. The government's ordered the closure of all bars and entertainment venues in the capital. With few tourists, huge numbers of workers with informal jobs have no income. Wayne Hay is in Bangkok.
Outside one of Bangkok's famous Thai boxing stadiums, a makeshift coronavirus testing clinic has been set up. It's for fighters, spectators and anyone else who was here in recent days as the number of cases surged in Thailand, including a cluster at another boxing stadium across town. The Prime Minister has ordered entertainment venues and bars to close for 2 weeks.
The government will keep evaluating the outbreak situation both in the country and internationally, as well as its economic impact, closely and carefully.
The virus, at an icon of Thai culture, may remove any lingering complacency about a crisis that could deliver an economic knockout. Thailand's economy was already struggling after a coup and 5 years of military rule. Last year's election did little, if anything, to brighten the outlook, and this situation will almost certainly send it into recession. Coronavirus and the measures to contain it have altered the economic and social landscape of Bangkok, particularly its notorious nightlife, one of the most vibrant in the world. The government order to close bars came when business was already dramatically declining, partly because